On the morning of September 11, 2001, 19 hijackers associated with Al-Qaeda carried out a coordinated attack on American soil. Commercial airplanes were hijacked and used as weapons. 2 planes struck the World Trade Center towers in New York City. A third hit the Pentagon. A fourth crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers attempted to regain control. The destruction was immediate and devastating. The Twin Towers collapsed. Thousands of families were shattered. The shock rippled across the globe. Investigations quickly pointed to Al-Qaeda. Osama bin Laden denied responsibility at first, but later statements confirmed his involvement in planning and approving the operation. The attacks were designed not only to cause casualties, but to create fear, economic disruption, and political instability. They succeeded in changing the world. In response, the United States launched the War on Terror.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Within weeks, U.S. forces entered Afghanistan to dismantle Al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban government that had provided bin Laden safe haven. Bin Laden escaped capture during the early stages of the conflict. For nearly a decade, he remained hidden, becoming one of the most wanted men in the world. During these years, his image became symbolic. To some, a figure of resistance. To many others, the embodiment of extremism and mass violence. Governments increased surveillance. Airports introduced new security measures. Intelligence agencies expanded their operations globally. Wars in Afghanistan and later Iraq reshaped international relations. The search for bin Laden continued relentlessly. Behind the scenes, intelligence agencies tracked couriers and communication networks. Rather than using phones or the internet, bin Laden relied on trusted messengers to move information. This made locating him extremely challenging. Eventually, years of intelligence work led investigators to a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. On May 2, 2011, U.S. Navy SEALs carried out a covert operation. After a brief firefight inside the compound, Osama bin Laden was killed.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
His death marked the end of a decade-long manhunt, but it did not end terrorism. On September 11, 2001, the world changed forever. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost in coordinated terrorist attacks on the United States. The event reshaped global politics, security policies, and the course of modern history. At the center of this tragedy was one man, Osama bin Laden. This is the story of how a wealthy Saudi-born militant became the architect of one of the deadliest terrorist attacks in history. Osama bin Laden was born in 1957 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, into one of the richest construction families in the Middle East. His father, Mohammed bin Laden, built a vast business empire and maintained close ties with the Saudi royal family. Growing up in privilege, Osama had access to education, wealth, and influence. But despite his comfortable upbringing, he developed strong religious convictions at a young age. During his university years in Jeddah, he was influenced by radical Islamist thinkers who promoted the idea that Muslim lands were under threat from foreign powers and corrupt local governments. These ideas would shape his worldview. The turning point came in 1979 when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. For many in the Muslim world, this was seen as a war against Islam. bin Laden traveled to Pakistan and later Afghanistan, where he helped fund and organize Arab fighters who joined the Afghan resistance. During this time, he gained experience in logistics, recruitment, and guerrilla warfare. He built connections with militants from across the region. What began as support for a local conflict gradually evolved into something much larger. After the Soviet withdrawal in 1989, bin Laden did not return to a normal life. Instead, he turned his focus toward what he believed was a broader struggle against Western influence in Muslim countries. In the late 1980s, he founded an organization called Al-Qaeda, meaning the base. Its goal was not limited to one country or conflict. It aimed to unite militant groups under a shared ideology and carry out attacks against targets seen as enemies of Islam. Throughout the 1990s, Al-Qaeda was linked to several major attacks, including bombings of U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998, and the attack on the USS Cole in 2000. These operations signaled that bin Laden's ambitions were global. He publicly declared hostility toward the United States, accusing it of military aggression in the Middle East and support for governments he viewed as oppressive. U.S. authorities began actively pursuing him, but capturing him proved extremely difficult. The legacy of September 11th is complex and far-reaching. The attacks led to prolonged wars, significant loss of life, and massive financial costs. They also sparked debates about security, civil liberties, and the balance between safety and freedom. Entire generations grew up in a world defined by heightened security and global counterterrorism efforts. For many families, however, the legacy is deeply personal. The loss of loved ones can never be undone. Osama bin Laden's journey from privileged youth to extremist leader reveals how ideology, conflict, and political instability can intersect in dangerous ways. His actions were not spontaneous. They were shaped by years of radicalization, global tensions, and calculated strategy. Understanding this history does not excuse the violence. Instead, it helps explain how such events become possible, and why preventing them requires more than military action alone. It requires addressing the roots of extremism, promoting dialogue, and strengthening international cooperation. Today, September 11th remains one of the most defining moments of the 21st century. Memorials stand where the towers once rose. Names of the victims are read each year in remembrance. The story of Osama bin Laden is not one of heroism. It is a cautionary tale, a reminder of how extremist ideology can lead to devastating consequences. The world continues to confront new threats, new conflicts, and new forms of radicalization. But the lessons of 9/11 remain clear. Hatred and violence carry costs that echo across generations. History remembers not only the mastermind behind the attacks, but also the resilience of those who endured them. And in that resilience lies the hope that such tragedy will never be repeated.